Let's now review another game from the Olympiad, and an exponent with black, a very high rated exponent of the King's Indian, Radjabov. So what did Radjabov play against Van Wely? He played an immediate knight h5, so not bothering with a5. And we saw g3, so he's trying to stop this knight f4. And now f5, so it seems, black's focusing all his attention on the quick kingside attack. So let's see how this game evolved. So white just supported e4 here. And now interesting, not playing for c5, but playing b5. So that does seem very interesting. What is white up to? Well, white potentially still can play c5, but after h6, the idea is knight e6. So white is actually trying to sack a pawn on e6, and this is very annoying for the black player, because once that knight square bishop is removed from black's position, this knight d5 is really annoying. And black accepted the pawn because and sacrificing the exchange to try and get a kingside attack going with queen h3. But Van Wely had seen this position and just played rook f2, so wanting to sack the g3 pawn. So basically here it got a bit wild now, and Radjabov lashed out with knight takes e4. But is this attack fundamentally sound? Well, the game continues like this, with white's king, seemingly very dangerously exposed. But look at black's attacking pieces. Are they enough? The game kind of showed that they weren't enough, and after this knight e8, white was cleverly, grabbing black's dark square bishop. And after that, black is in a dangerous, has his pieces out very dangerously. But white managed to consolidate now with this queen b3 move, followed by queen e3, so supporting the e2 bishop. And now this c5 tries to blast open this diagonal. So finally getting in that c5 thematic move. Now bishop b2. And here, black's position is becoming quite critical. So after this king d1, now bishop c3, queen g5, you see that e5 is under fire, and here white goes significantly better now with queen e7, because black's king is in trouble and white's king is just slightly safer. So this has been a very wild encounter, and really I'm only showing it because it's a recent game of the major exponent of the King's Indian at the moment, Radjabov. So black was faced with a very difficult attack on the dark squares now after rook f1, and the game continues with black sacrificing the queen, but it wasn't enough. White was able to dominate now with the queen coming to e5, picking up the knight, and the rest was just technique. So the game really illustrates, if we go back to the bayonet system b4, this knight h5, you can answer it with g3. And if you're prepared, to take that kind of attack, it showed, that you can get your queenside attack eventually going. But that did seem like a scary onslaught by Radjabov. But Van Wely, who's 2618 and Radjabov 2751, Van Wely, managed to defend it. A more dramatic rating example from the Olympiad, by the way, is a 1646, believe it or not, playing against a 2155. Let's have a quick look at this. So it shows even a very low rated player can do well with the bayonet. So here, the play is much more simple than that game. But white still went in for this knight e6 idea. So white's sacrificing that pawn to get black's light squared bishop. And after that, black's really getting a loose position here. And white cleverly decided in this position to sacrifice the exchange. So leaving him with a couple of very dangerous bishops, and especially, gaping dark squared weaknesses around black's king. So after this retreat, white's got all sorts of threats like queen d2 and queen c3. But now, after queen e2, queen e5. And this game showed now the power of the two bishops here. So rook takes c6, a very nice move. After rook takes b6, So white's material up with a crushing position, and after g3 black resigned. So that was a very dramatic example in the Olympiad just gone. So the much weaker player in theory just destroyed his opponent, who was 2-1-5-5 with the bayonet. Let's look at another example now. Back row, a 2-7-0-5 playing the bayonet. And what did the Djukik play? So the Djukik had played it more than once in this Olympiad, the same with Radjabov, the King's Indian that is. And here we saw this encounter. So white was giving up in this example his light square bishop, and it changes the nature of the game. White's king wasn't under such great fire as the previous game example. It seems white's queen side is more pronounced here and clear cut and more simple to sort of follow. So black actually managed to lose the exchange by trying to play on the b file, because it was eventually a tactical target, this rook on this b file, especially after this c6 and now this knight a4, and the other knight came to harass the rook as well. So black eventually just gave up the exchange now with rook b4, and now it seems black never really got a dangerous attack going in this particular game example, and white was able just to consolidate here using the dangerous passed a pawn. So once he got his a pawn going, that seemed to be very decisive. So now a6 here, and if knight takes, then rook e6. So basically the game finished like that. So that was back row versus the Djukik. Radjabov, to his credit, drew with back row with black in the bayonet in a later round. Let's have a quick look at this draw. So this is showing another idea, bishop e2 to f3 by white, and white still offering that pawn sack on e6 potentially. But here this interesting idea of allowing black to play for d5, but this bishop a3 is annoying. So Radjabov accepted this kind of position and was able to hold this. So he held this rook ending. So the King's Indian is still viable in the right hands, but it seems to be very tricky and a very controversial opening now, the King's Indian, especially with this very dangerous bayonet attack system. So I'm not recommending any gambit this time or anything fancy, but rather something that scored very well statistically in the last Olympiad. So the bayonet attack with b4. Try it out in your own games against the King's Indian. I hope you enjoyed that, and please leave any comments on YouTube. Thanks very much.